Hello, we'll be making a hinge today as a SolidWorks tutorial for beginners. Everything we make will have zero tolerances, meaning that everything will be the exact size it needs to be to fit together. And we won't worry about things being mechanically accurate as if they're being machined in real life. So, just walk through, pause whenever you need to, and just keep up with all the little steps of the video. Now with SolidWorks open, I'm going to go up here to File, New, and we're going to create a brand new part. Now our hinge is going to be divided into 3 parts that we create an assembly of to get a working and moving hinge. It all starts out with one of the brackets for our hinge. I'm going to start by making a sketch on my front plane, and we are going to use our rectangle here to create that sketch. Smart Dimension tool is our favorite tool to make sure everything is accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and Smart Dimension the width of mine to be 4 inches. And I'm going to have it only about 1/4 inch tall. Very tiny, alright? Now this is still, like I said, a tutorial, so even though this might not be an accurate hinge for something like a door, it may be something to work on more of an airplane or something that is very large in construction. Now what we need here is the rings that our hinges are going to be able to swivel on. So I want to take my circle tool to one of these intersections, and I'm going to zoom in, make it very easy to see here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to bring that all the way up here. Now because we know the distance of the thickness of our hinge is going to be 1/4 inch, we know the radius of this is going to be 1/4 inch, and the diameter will be 1/2 inch. And that's good information to know when we cut this out down the road. Now we want this to be all one giant shape, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my trim tool. And I'm going to trim to the closest. 99% of the time you'll find this being used. And I'm going to trim out the parts I don't need, leaving this nice single long surface to use. I'm done with my trim tool, so I'll green check mark it. And then I'm going to go ahead and extrude this and give it 3 dimensions. So I'm going to go into Features and do an Extrude Boss Base. We can pull the arrow as far as we need to give it the right distance, or we can come over here and type in the distance we want. For this demonstration, I'm going to make mine 8 inches long, and then I'm going to green check mark. And now we have a nice, beautiful hinge that has all the things we need for it for now. We need a pin to eventually go through this, so we might as well make our cut through it right now. We will do an extrude cut on the surface. I'm going to grab my circle tool, and then I'm going to create a circle here. Now it can be very difficult to find the center. And a lot of students will find this very difficult to figure out where to put your circle. But if you take your cursor now and you kind of hug it along this edge, you'll get these yellow points showing very certain sections of the circle. More importantly, you get this black dot in the center of the circle show up. And this is the center of it. So I'm going to make my circle from that point. Now looking back, the diameter of this should be, or the radius is 0.25, and the diameter is 0.5. So I'm going to make my circle here just short of that, so I have just a little bit of room to work with. I think I'm going to Smart Dimension it out to be exactly 0.4. And when I have that exact 0.4, I'm ready to cut this through. So it's going to cut all the way through. So I'll grab my features, extrude cut this time, and I'm going to pull this all the way through. The length of my hinge was 8, so I'll just make this number 8. Though this circle can be pulled all the way out, and it can go very, very far, and you can be excessive with it if you want. It doesn't matter because it is an extrude cut. And I'll check mark that, and now I'll have a nice opening here. Now, a hinge needs to have several different sections cut out of this top area. This is used so that we can have multiple sections hook up to each other. And we are going to cut these out by making an extrude cut using one of the planes from the front side. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sketch on this front surface. And I might even press spacebar so I can get my orbiting dice and I can go ahead and look at this plane specifically. So I'm looking at the side that has the curve facing forward towards me. And what I want to do here is I want to take either my rectangle tool or a line tool, and I want to create this rectangle that pretty much goes the distance of our circle. If I were to smart dimension this out, it's going to be the same size I made my original, or the same thickness I made the circle, as well as the length of my actual hinge. Now, if I look at this from the side, we are going right down the middle, right through my actual circle, because I built it on this plane. Now what I need to do is I need to cut this into equal sections. So I'll take my line tool, and I'll first divide it perfectly in half. And I'm going to make a few more divisions. And I'm going to have 4 sections of this. Now what I need to definitely do is start to dimension this out so they're all equal. I know my distance is a whopping 8 inches long, so we're going to make the distance between these vertically lines about 2 inches. If I click this line, instead of smart dimension out its thickness, I'll take my cursor and click its neighbor, and what they'll do is they'll make a smart dimension between those 2 sections. And I keep that pattern going, force it to be 2, and 1 more, and everything goes yellow because SolidWorks is telling us that, hey, I'm not dumb, I know that was already supposed to be 2. So you just gotta say, okay, you're right, SolidWorks, you're so gosh darn smart. Now, we have 4 divided off sections, and what we gotta do is we have to delete 2 of them, and we have to skip over 1. So we're going to go ahead and trim out the parts we don't need, or we can go straight to the extrude cut. And I think I'm going to go straight to the extrude cut. Okay, extrude cut, and it's going to ask me which ones do I want to extrude cut. So I'm going to tell it I want to extrude cut this first one, as well as the third one. And I'm just going to ignore the second and fourth one. Now right now it's just extrude cutting on 1/2 of it, so I'm going to take my direction 2 and force it to go the other way. Now these are being cut way too far, so I can pull these in, just so I can easily see what my preview for extrude cuts are going to be. And these parts are going to be taken out, leaving behind the second and fourth one. So I'll check mark that I'm done with the extrude cuts, and then those get trimmed out. Next, what we need is a couple holes that are going to be able to attach this hinge to whatever I'm going to be using it for. And we're going to use a combination of extrude cut as well as chamfer. The easy way you could choose to do is Hole Wizard, which pretty much combines those 2 features. But because this is a tutorial video, I think we're just going to do it the slow way, just to make you understand how it works. So we'll do an extrude cut on the surface, and we are going to need a couple circles to work with. After I make these different circles, I'm going to take my Smart Dimension tool to give them a very specific thickness. For this demonstration, I'm going to do, not 5, I'm going to do 0.5 half-inch circles. I could have probably done 1/4 inch as well, but I'm just going to stick to very easy numbers to remember. So I'm just smart dimensioning out all these circles. In addition to the thickness and diameter of the circle, we need their placement as well. And this is similar to how we did those multiple sections on the top here. I'm going to click the center of the circle, and I'm going to click this edge, and it's going to smart dimension out the distance between those 2. And I'm going to make that distance exactly 1. I want to do the same thing for its base. So from the center to the bottom, and that one is going to be 2. And I'm going to repeat that pattern for my other 4 as well. So bottom to the center of that circle will be 1. And the center of that circle to the edge is going to be 2. And we just kind of have this diagonal pattern that's going to look really clean in the end. I'm going to keep this pattern going. Oops. This one needed to be 1, so I'll double click on that and I'll make it 1 instead. This guy needs to be 2 away. And 1 from the bottom. I love the Smart Dimension tool. It is your best friend a majority of the time. And it is just cleaning up and making these circles be exactly where I want them to be and exactly the right size. Now that I'm done with them, I'll go ahead and exit the sketch. And it remembers that I wanted to do an extrude cut. If it didn't, I could just go into features and make sure I grab extrude cut. And we're going to go ahead and cut these through and check mark that we're done with them. Now, leaving the circles as they are is not the end of the world, but I'm a big fan of putting a chamfer in there. Therefore, when you put screws into these, they can be flush with the object you're making. Now, the side you put them on could be either side, depending on the nature of your hinge, but I'm going to put them on this front side just because we've been staring at it for the last 5 minutes. So go ahead and put chamfer on this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. And now just check mark that I'm done with my 4 chamfers. And now we've created a single hinge to work with. In part 2, in episode 2 of this hinge video, we will create a duplicate of this, as well as start to make the assembly, as well as the pin that's going to be able to slide through the top of our hinge.